and welcome to Legal Affairs. My name is Diamond Liddy, and I'm the public defender for the 19th Judicial Circuit. And we are going to be talking about something very, very near and dear to my heart. And we have on the show someone who is also very near and dear to my heart, who helps with this charity that assists people along the Treasure Coast. So I want to introduce our guest, Eric Korhammer. How are you, Eric?
Great. Thanks for having me, Diamond. And
what we're going to be talking about, I didn't even tell you, is the Life Builders of the Treasure Coast, a charity that started about 13 years ago.
2009
correct?
Is correct. Yep.
Okay. And tell us, I don't want to do all the talking, Eric, so tell us how Life Builders was started and your role in Life Builders.
So as you mentioned, Diamond, Life Builders started in 2009, 13 years ago.
Right.
And it was started by a small group of individuals, leaders in the community, who wanted to do something to reduce recidivism and help people who have made a mistake and wound up in the system. So this small group, including yourself, came up with this idea that let's try to form a nonprofit that would actually help fund this kind of activity. And so outreach was done, and surprisingly enough, the first people to adopt this was law enforcement, because they saw this as an opportunity to keep people out of jail and give them a second start.
Right.
And so that's how it all started years ago. I can go into a bicycle story where people in the office got together and contributed to the bike, and then next week it was somebody else. So Life Builders provides the funding that the state cannot provide.
Right, right.
So that's what we do, and like I said, to think that we are now so many years down the road.
Oh, yeah, and it's incredible, because we started so small and with a vision and scared to death, you know, but then it just, as the years grew on and as it grew and grew and we got more support from more agencies, more you know, foundations and individual donations, all of a sudden we were helping a lot of people. And I want to talk about the figures here in a minute, but the criteria, and tell me if I'm wrong, but is you have had to have touched the criminal justice system or the dependency court system, and that's the court system that helps children who have been abused or neglected be successful. So if someone who has touched those two courts want to get on the right path, want to be a success, want to turn their lives around, we can give them the help that I, as the public defender, cannot do with public funding. Correct?
Absolutely right. The facts of how many people we've helped over the course of our operation since inception, we've helped over 5,000 families throughout the Treasure Coast,
right,
which is just an astronomical number. And
from an organization that isn't nationwide, that doesn't have, you know, organizations all over the world or the country or the state, we just did it out of the blue. It's probably I don't, you know, we keep looking, and I know you do too, but I don't think there's anything like it in the country.
There's nothing like this. This is a unique program. And the fact that it is so successful, in addition to the 5,000 folks that we've helped,
right,
we have dispersed $1.6 million in assistance. So again, we couldn't do this without a good, strong leadership and the marketing that we do. We go out with outreach and we let people know what Life Builders is, specifically around education too. We do a lot of work with education. And
we collaborate. In fact, we were going to have someone, and we will in the next couple months, from the Ignite Youth Alliance group that we peripherally help that group as well. And and which involves children, of course.
It's a great story. They reached out to us because they were starting this football program for youth in Fort Pierce. And they had a few kids who qualified for our program through the delinquency court, and who needed cleats to play football. So we wound up buying a bunch of cleats, and that's how we got involved. But there's just no end to how we can get involved. If there's a valid need, Life Builders will find a way to assist.
And we're going to talk about vetting applications and that in a minute, but let's talk about you for a moment.
Okay.
Give us your background, how you came to the Public Defender's Office, how you volunteered for Life Builders, your role in the agency as well as in Life Builders, and your background.
Okay. So I'm originally from New York, moved down here, and then to Massachusetts, and then Connecticut, so I'm a New England boy, but I moved down here 11 years ago. Took a few years off to enjoy what Florida has to offer. And then I had a family member who was in the Public Defender's Office and knew of this program called Life Builders, which I had never heard about. And after she explained it to me, it's like, you know, I have some free time. Let me see if this is for me.
Right.
And there's so many opportunities to get involved in nonprofits down here. There's tons of them.
Oh, absolutely.
But what I liked about this was you make a real difference. And that term of, you know, change a life, change the world, this is a real way to do it. And so the more I got involved in it, the more I found satisfaction in helping these folks who are very often overlooked.
And you were a volunteer at first, correct?
I was a volunteer, and then the opportunity came along through the Public Defender's Office for a reentry person to do some community resource work.
Right.
So that's when I hired on, actually took the job, which puts me in the community, working with other nonprofits and with businesses, and also allows me to get a feel for what's needed at Life Builders, because I'm out in the community. I can see where we fit in certain things.
Well, and your role is so important because you're not only helping the office and the clients, you're helping the attorneys, you're helping the entire office when there is a need by a client to help someone and to help them turn their life around. And by being in the community, as you are, as outreach, and again, your position, we should point out, is 4 counties. So you're everywhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, you are the face of the office in many circumstances, and certainly the face of Life Builders. But what you do for our holistic approach to public defending is incredible.
There's rarely a meeting anywhere in the circuit that I'm not at some way, somehow. And the beauty of that is I get to talk about Life Builders, but I also get to hear about community needs. For example, I'll come across some different businesses who need employees, and I suggest, have you thought about second chance employment?
Right.
Where you can...
And, you know, because some people don't know what it is.
Right.
What is second chance employment?
Second chance employment is giving an opportunity to someone who has a background. When you felt...
Well, what are you talking about? What's a background?
A background would be any kind of a conviction.
Okay.
So if you fill out an application, you'll see that question. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Right.
And there was a movement not too long ago called Ban the Box. Like, why is that on here? Because that's already going to put somebody at a disadvantage.
Right.
And so what happens is there are this group of employers that have taken on this challenge, and they're called second chance employers. They're willing to say, you know what, we've all made mistakes. A lot of the employers I work with have backgrounds.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
It's kind of funny.
It is.
Successful employers.
That's the whole thing. It's like...
I mean, big time successful employers have backgrounds, but they were able, with help, to pull themselves up and, gosh, rock it.
I remember helping this one person who looked for work boots and some tools to be a handyman.
Right.
And he started out as a handyman working for a company. And then he left and went on his own. And today he has his own handyman company. And he only wants to hire second chance employees, which is wonderful.
Right.
Because these folks, a lot of them, want that opportunity to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I paid what I had to do. Now give me a chance to hit the reset button and start over.
Right, right. And we have a lot of local businesses that again, are second chance employers. And that is part of your community outreach, is it not? To find, because you can't just go, you know, I was about to say, oh my God, talk about dating myself in the yellow pages. You can't just go Google second chance employers.
Nope.
And they pop up. I mean, you have to go out, meet them, talk to them, and some of them have criteria. You know, some of them don't want violent offenders or whatever, or they want certain skills before they hire them, but they're willing to hire them.
Absolutely. One of the things I like doing is going to all the different job fairs that any organization will offer.
Right.
Because that's an audience of employers. And I'll go up and ask them, are you a second chance employer? And if they say, yes, it's great, can I speak to you some more about that? Because we might have some candidates for you. And if they're not, then I'll try to talk them into, well, let's talk about that. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to get involved in that. So those job fairs are wonderful for us. Anytime I see one, I try to get in there.
Now, if someone gets assistance from Life Builders, and give us some examples of assistance. Life Builders doesn't pay fines, fees, court costs, things of that nature, correct?
Absolutely right.
Okay. Give us some examples of how Life Builders helps.
So Life Builders has lots of different types of assistance. The most popular ones are housing assistance, which is rent or security deposits and things along that line, or utilities, utility deposits. Those are pretty standard things. But we also do education assistance, which is GEDs, which is back to school clothing and supplies, which is summer camps, all that kind of stuff. We do work assistance. You need work boots to start day labor? Come to us. We'll get you a pair of work boots.
And let me stop you right there. The audience needs to realize too, you don't say, oh, you need work boots, here's a check for $100, go get them and let us know how you do. Do you, Eric?
This is a hands-on organization. We meet our clients. We go to the stores with them. We buy the things that they need. So there's a lot of oversight. And the reason why we do that is because the dollars that we have, I call them precious donor dollars. We have to make sure that we're good stewards of that, and that only the right people who qualify and are trying to turn their lives around are the ones to benefit from those donations.
And I think the one thing that I have seen, and I'm, you know, obviously, I'm active in the community with all the charities as much as, you know, because they touch our clients' lives. The one thing that, there's a couple things that set us apart, but the one thing that really sets Life Builders apart is the fact we vet every application. Let's talk about that for a moment. Because people can come in, and I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No.
Somebody can say, okay, Eric, I need a bike to get to my job at Chili's. And you say, okay, well, let's call Chili's, see if he really has a job. Those kinds of things.
You are absolutely right. Every application we receive and that is eligible for assistance, we vet and we do a deep dive. Again, because of stewardship for these precious donor dollars, we will call the landlord. We'll speak to every single landlord and say, is this a good tenant? How often do they pay late? Have they made any attempts to pay any partial payments? We want to see an effort on behalf of our clients.
Have they trashed your apartment? Are they drinking and having wild parties? Because they're not, those types of people are not the type people, we're not mad at them. We don't, aren't disgusted with them, but those we're not going to give help to because they're not necessarily on the right track.
Absolutely. We want to help those who have shown an effort to help themselves after they have gone through the system.
Right.
So another great example is we'll call landlords, we'll call employers. I called an employer once to ask about this person who needed some tools. And I said, how's his work ethic? He says, oh, he's a great worker when he shows up.
Yeah.
I said, well, tell me a little bit more about that. He says, well, he seems to have, he seems to party at night. He doesn't come to work every day. Well, you see, now that's not somebody that we're going to support.
Right.
We're not going
Right.
to get behind that.
Right.
But, so we speak to employers, we speak to probation officers, we speak to case managers, we speak to anybody who has input to let us make sure
and
that...
contact to let, right.
To make sure we're making the right decisions.
Right. What is the percentage now? You know this better than me. How, on every dollar, what is 90?
91.
91 cents on
91 cents goes back to pure assistance.
Because it is based on volunteers, correct, Eric?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a couple of small part-time positions.
Right.
But this is a small organization that
Right.
does big things.
Right.
And that's the wonder of it all.
That's the I've never heard it put that way, and we probably need to say that in some presentations. But it's small. I mean, as people say, as we say in our presentations, there's no bricks and mortar. When we apply for funding from an organization, they want to come and see where we live and what we do in our office, and we're like, no, and we don't have a CEO making $120,000 a year, and we don't have that. This is based on volunteerism and a lot of hard work, and of course, we now have, thanks to the Hunt Foundation, a grant writer that helps us. But it's people's hard work. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
And just speaking of that, the few that does wonderful big things. We actually have opportunities for volunteers to join us once in a while
Right.
to do some things around
Right.
that could help us out, because that 91 cents on every dollar is very important to us.
Right.
I remember reading once that
And what organization can say that?
if you're doing more than 50% back into direct assistance, you're doing well.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, we're doubling that.
We're doing outstanding.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that, and you know what the other things too, you mentioned that we don't have a brick and mortar. Well, when COVID came and everything shut down,
right.
Life Builders kept going because we were all virtual.
Right.
We all had computers, we all knew what we do,
Right.
we'd all make the phone calls, and it kept going.
Yeah.
So even though the assistance was great, we were at 100% efficiency.
Yeah, yeah, which is really pretty amazing when you think about it. At the worst possible time, a lot of agencies and offices and charities and shut down because they couldn't go on, but Life Builders didn't, which is a big deal.
I have to say, and I pay very close attention to our budget. That was the one year when we went over budget.
Yeah.
Because the need was never seen anything like this before.
Right, right.
So many people
Right.
were out of work. So many people had rent to pay and bills to pay. And it was just, fortunately, since then, we've leveled out again.
Right.
But we just do a fantastic job.
Yeah, oh, I know.
We do.
I know. Well, tell us, why don't you share with us a couple of your favorite stories? Because we get from you, and the board gets from you every month, quotes and the pay it forward things, and so give us a good story.
Like you mentioned there, when anyone receives assistance from Life Builders, we make a contract with them that says, we helped you, we're going to ask that you commit to helping someone else in the community by doing something good, not monetarily necessarily, but some good deed that turns into a better community. So that way we're kind of, you know, making better communities.
Well, like your guy with the tools and work boots that started his own handyman company that all really kind of only wants to hire second, you know, people who've been in trouble.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they sign this form, and there's a part on there that says your comments, and we'll often get them to say, you know, they send it back and say, you know, thank you so much. But the ones that are really makes you think, like, you know, I'm having a bad day, but boy, I feel good after reading this. Was you know, where my family and my children have a roof over their heads, that we're not sleeping in our car tonight. My kids can have the lights on to do their homework. So it's those kind of comments that come back and say, you know what, besides the numbers of how many people we've helped, how much we spent.
Let's talk about that. We've just glossed over that.
But no matter the numbers, these lives here are the ones that we're touching. These lives here are the ones that we really matter.
Yeah, that's, well, you have some, you know, you're in the thick of it. I want you to, we'll end on a couple, we're almost out of time, believe it or not. We'll end on a couple short stories or examples, but you're gearing up for your, well, not gearing up, but yeah, kind of gearing up.
There we are.
For back to school and all of that.
Yeah, well, there's two things that we're getting ready for. One of them is with school ending, we're getting ready for summer camps.
Yes, yes.
And so that's our first thing. We want to make sure that these clients and now the kids, because the unemployment rate's very low. It's only like 3.3%. It's incredible.
Right.
But a lot of people are working 2 jobs. What am I going to do with the kids over the summer?
Yeah.
So camp is very important. And a lot of these folks just don't have the finances to pay for camp.
Right.
So that's where Life Builders comes in. So we're gearing up for summer camp. We're also gearing up for daycare assistance for kids who don't go to camp.
Right.
And then after that, like you had mentioned, further down in the summer when we're getting ready to go back to school, we have a very big back to school drive where we actually meet clients in the store and get their clothing, their uniforms, their supplies, and pay for it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, of course, you love that part.
I do, because one of my favorite times is when these little kids come up and they smile and they say thank you. It's just...
Yeah, yeah. But again, you're with them, someone is with them to buy this stuff. It's not, here's a check, go buy school clothes and tell us how it is.
Absolutely, because we want to make sure that the money that we approve for this goes to that purpose. I don't want to see anything in there that doesn't have to do with what these funds were going to go for. You know, children's clothing and school supplies, very basic.
Now, let's talk for a moment about our funders and the people that have, I mean, been with us when we're not famous. Life Builders isn't famous in the community or the Treasure Coast now necessarily, but the word is out. People know of Life Builders, but there are big foundations, big agencies, United Way, for example, people who believed in us from the beginning, even when we had no track record. And when Life Builders, you know, we went and, you know, you'd present for Life Builders and they'd say, well, how long have you been doing this and what is this based on? And well, not so long, and we just came up with the idea out of the blue type thing.
Right.
Tell us about some of the people that have given us money.
you know, we would be nowhere without these funders.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say we don't have our own fundraising, which we do.
Right.
And we also apply for grants, and we're good in that area too.
Sure.
But there are some organizations out there. You mentioned United Way of St. Lucie and also of Martin. We have the St. Lucie and Martin Community Foundation.
Right.
We have Johns Island Community Service League, Quail Valley Charities, the Scott Foundation,
right.
PNC Bank. It seems like every year
we get a little
something new comes along.
Right.
So it's great. And why that's important for us is we can't stop this. This is a ball that has to keep rolling.
Yeah.
Because this is a need that has to be met. And no one else is doing it.
Well, and you actually reject some applications, though, right? If they don't, like the guy that he's a great worker when he shows up, but he just doesn't show up that much, that's a rejection. So of all these people that you've mentioned, Life Builders has helped, there's a big group that you said no to. Well, some people, Life Builders has to say no to because simply don't have the funding. But then there's the other group that have been vetted that don't meet the criteria because we're just not sure they're going to stay on track. You just can't help everybody.
And to that point, saying no is the hardest thing that we do.
Oh, gosh, I can't even imagine, because you're the one that does it.
It's the hardest thing that we have to do. And sometimes it's a soft no. It's, you know what, it's not that your application is without merit, but there are some things you need to work on. And so, you know what, 3-6 months down the road, reapply, and we will take a look at it again.
Right.
So I don't want to say ever it's a hard no, because people change, situations change, and if they're showing us the willingness to do the right stuff, we want to be there for them.
Right. And you mentioned earlier about law enforcement support, which really has been pretty much for county, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
And also county commission. Support from St. Lucie County as well as Martin. I mean, incredible.
It is. And like you always mention, it's like these are the early adopters was law enforcement, which is a great thing, gives us a little credibility going forward.
Oh, absolutely. As well as United Way and those programs. Well, leave us, we got about 30, 40 seconds. Give us a snippet, short story to end on, a feel-good story.
There are so many. One of the biggest things that we take a lot of joy in is with dependency cases because they involve children. And an application that comes in, and it's a mother who has done all the right stuff. And I mean, we have communicated with the case manager. How are they doing? We communicate with the landlord. Yep, pays not all the time on time, but always pays. Trying to do the right stuff.
Right.
And now she's getting her children back. And so
she needs a bed.
She needs 2 beds. She needs a bunk bed.
And that's all, and she can get it back.
That's it. That's it. A bunk bed, 2 mattresses, some bedding. God bless you. Let's go.
You got the kids.
It's wonderful.
Thank you,
It's
Eric.
wonderful.
This was great.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.